So there we have it then. Mercedes have won their 7th consecutive Constructors' World Championship, breaking yet another Formula 1 record. It's Mercedes' world and we are living in it as well. It's just extraordinary what we are witnessing here. 2014 to 2020, 6 years in a row, 7 consecutive Constructors' World Championships. No other team has ever done that before. Wow, it was brilliant. And to be fair, it wasn't a bad Grand Prix. I think there was low expectation coming into this race because, yes, we were going back to Imola. It's a classic circuit. We all love this track. But, you know, the car's a lot wider and it's a very old-school, narrow circuit. But I thought today it did itself justice. I thought we had a really good race today. So, of course, Lewis Hamilton came up triumphant. His 93rd victory in Formula 1 as well. Could have been Valtteri Bottas as well, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. Let me know your opinions of the race in the comment section below. And yeah, just leave us your opinions about what happened in the course of the race. You know, with strategy, with instances that happened as well. So obviously there was a lot to get through. So let's start, as we normally do, go through each of the 10 teams in today's race. And let's start off with our winners, of course, which is Mercedes. Who else? Who else did we expect to win today? Well, apart from, obviously, Mercedes. I know Hamilton, we knew it was going to be one of the two, but Max was in there at one stage, but never mind. So, yeah, the start, obviously, race gets underway, and Hamilton gets bogged down, as he does. Well, he didn't get bogged down. He got off, the phase 1 of the start was quite good, but then phase 2, he got a bit of wheel spin or something like that, lost a bit of grip. He lost out to Max Verstappen at the very start. Bottas was away with it. He had a very comfortable lead. Then it was just a case of, you know, who goes first? Who pits first? Does Mercedes go first? Does Verstappen go first? And ultimately, it was Max Verstappen who pulled the trigger in the strategy and he pitted. And then that forced Valtteri Bottas to pit a lap later. Now, because of this, Hamilton decided he wanted to go long. Well, maybe not him, but the team decided to let Hamilton go long, which a lot of people were a bit miffed by this, is the fact that Bottas could have won the race and he didn't, purely because of Hamilton's long strategy as well. And I think Bottas wouldn't have been too happy. I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of exchange words behind the scenes at Mercedes. So yeah, on lap 20, Hamilton was told that he's going to be extending his stint. Both drivers started on the medium tyres, by the way, as well. A lot of people were caught out by how quick the deg was on the soft tyres because of limited practice. The teams didn't have the data for this. So yes, of course. Then the virtual safety car comes out on lap 30, and that was when Hamilton pitted 10 laps after his teammate had done so, which led to people think, okay, then Hamilton is now, he's got a very comfortable lead, he's now pitted, come out under the virtual safety car, and because of how much time you can gain under the virtual safety car, he was now 10 seconds ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Now, that wasn't played for. Like, Mercedes didn't call that. They couldn't have called for the virtual safety car. What they would have done right is, obviously with Verstappen pitting, they had to cover him because Max Verstappen did have probably the pace to undercut the Mercedes, and then ultimately probably take the race victory. And Mercedes don't care who goes first or second, whether it's Hamilton or Bottas. They aren't bothered who wins the championship. They're not bothered who comes first, who comes second. They want a 1-2. They had a 1-3. The strategy played out the way it did. Verstappen pitted, then Bottas pitted. He came out ahead of Verstappen, and now they had a 1-2. Not only that as well, it was later revealed that Bottas had some floor damage sustained to his car that occurred. I think I was at the towards the hairpin. I think it might have been on turn 2. Some debris was picked up, which might have been off the contact between Kevin Magnussen and Sebastian Vettel at the very beginning. That could have been the issue with that. But so Bottas was very down on pace. He kept locking up, and ultimately he lost the position anyway to Max Verstappen. But yeah, a lot of people were a bit peed off by this. I don't think that was Mercedes' fault. I just think that, well, it wasn't their fault, but I don't think that they did this deliberately. I think, like I said, they're not bothered who wins. Ultimately, well, Hamilton's team will want him to win, but ultimately Mercedes will want to get the 1-2 to clinch constructors in the best possible way, like they have done so today. Ultimately, it's just the way it felt. Hamilton got lucky with the position that he was under the virtual safety car. He then pitted, and once that happened, we knew he was going to win the race. Yep, and that was pretty much it, really. And then Bottas pitted again under the safety car on lap 52, from the hards to the softs. And then Lewis, of course, pitted as well from the hards to the softs as well, and just pretty much cruised it home. We knew Bottas, was he going to pull a threat to Hamilton? Probably not, because of the floor damage he sustained. But Bottas had a pretty good weekend, but ultimately it was a case of Bottas looked quick in practice and qualifying, and Hamilton ultimately took victory in the Grand Prix. But never mind, I'm pretty sure Bottas's time will come eventually. So let's go on to Ferrari next. I'm going to go for Red Bull next. I don't know why I wrote down for Ferrari to go next, but never mind. So Ferrari, they had a pretty quiet Grand Prix. I would say they qualified Charles Leclerc in P7, Sebastian Vettel at P14, could have been P13, but he had his time deleted just not long after Q2 and started behind George Russell. So, of course, drama at the very beginning, towards the hairpin, Vettel made contact with Kevin Magnussen, which I think caused a bit of damage to K-Mag's car, because he reported there was a lot of jolting when he was upshifting, which caused him a headache, which ultimately cost him to retire, which I'll get onto that in a little bit. Charles Leclerc then pitted on lap 14 from the soft to the hard. Again, he was the one that he gambled, of course, split strategy for the Ferrari boys. Charles Leclerc on the softs, Sebastian Vettel on the mediums. So, of course, Charles Leclerc pitted early because he was one of those drivers that lost out or was caught out by the quick degradation with the soft tyres. Sebastian Vettel, what a stint he had. It was up to, P4, I think it was, towards the end of his stint. On lap 40, he pitted. And that was as good as it got. Vettel did so well. If he had pitted on where he did and didn't have any problems, he would have came out, P10 or 11 behind, or in between the two McLarens, I think it could have been. But that wasn't the case. He had a slow pit stop and came behind Giovinazzi in Vettel was P14, but I think he came up behind Antonio Giovinazzi in P14. Once the two Alfa Romeos passed him, of course the McLarens have passed him. It was horrendous, and honest to God, I was miffed. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. I was just like, come on, Vettel, get some points on the board. It's been a rough year. Let's go out with a bit of a bang. Nope, absolutely no way whatsoever. And of course, Charles Leclerc, he finished in P5, 2 positions to where he started, and of course down to some retirements. But nevertheless, P5 for Charles Leclerc, pretty average to where he wanted to be. And once again, Ferrari are leaving Imola with eggs on their face, more than one occasion. Let's go on to Red Bull then. So Max Verstappen had a really good start from P3, gets ahead of Lewis Hamilton in P2. Like I said beforehand, and that was just a case of what's going to happen next. Who is going to pull the trigger? Verstappen started on the medium tyres, Albon on the soft tyres. Albon, of course, spinning on the medium set of tyres in Q2. He then changed to the soft tyres, and that's why Red Bull had to split their strategy. Albon qualified in P6, by the way. He pits on lap 15. Alex Albon from the soft to the hard tyres. Again, missed out on the degradation, how quick the tyres were going off. The medium and the hard tyres were the way to go. And then, yes, of course, tries to undercut to Charles Leclerc, tries to do that. Lap 19, that's when Max comes in from the mediums to the hards. And then Max eventually, on lap 42, overtakes Bottas at turn 1 or turn 2, whatever you want to call it as well. Bottas he locks up at one of the last corners, I think it might have been. He locked up there 2 or 3 times because of this damage. And there was a couple of times Verstappen could have overtook him. He didn't. The DRS was not effective here as what it was in Portimao last week. So overtaking was again even more difficult, but still better than nothing. And eventually Max will get him turn 1 or turn 2, whatever you want to call it, like I said. But only a few laps later, Max Verstappen has a blowout on the right rear and he retires. No confirmation as to what that was. There's rumours of picked up some debris or whether something failed on his car that caused the puncture. I don't know. You might hear something between now and when this video goes live. And then safety car obviously comes out for Max Verstappen. They're under the safety car for a bit. Race gets underway. Alex Albon, he's in P5 or 6 at this point. He's having a bit of a battle with Sergio Perez. He gets overtaken by Sergio Perez. He goes to have another go at him, and of course he loses. The rear of the car spins, flat spots his tyres. That's Red Bull's day done. Verstappen's wasn't his fault. They could have got a solid P2. Bottas, he had lack of pace because of his floor damage. They weren't going to catch Hamilton. They had a P2 in the bag, doing another superb job for Max Verstappen this season on a different level. Albon, we all thought there was contact from Carlos Sainz, which if there was, I would have been like, okay, fair enough, not Albon's fault. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. However, that was not the case. It was all Albon's fault. Time's up, mate. Your time is up, I'm afraid. Quiet day at McLaren. Let's move on to them now. Quiet day at McLaren. Of course, they scored points, P7 and P8 for Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. Pretty impressive as well. I haven't got much notes on them. I've literally just got Sainz pits from soft to mediums on lap 18 for the 2-stop, which I think they ultimately did because I don't think the mediums would have lasted that long. But nevertheless, I've just got some pictures there of Mercedes' support room back at Brackley. Of course, after they won the constructors, but still, the McLaren they had a little battle between themselves. Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. Norris was ahead of Sainz. Sainz had a really good go at Lando Norris, which was a good battle. Obviously, I was like, no, don't touch, guys. I'm a McLaren fan, as you can clearly tell. So yeah, pretty bog standard race for McLaren. Didn't have good pace this weekend. They were quite far down in practice and qualifying, but still, the P7 and P8 is better than nothing. Of course, keeping them in the fight for P3 in the constructor standing. So come on, boys, very well done. Let's go over to Renault now. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo gets another podium for the team. His second of the season, and of course, his second with Renault. Does that mean Cyril's going to get another tattoo? I'll have to wait and see on that one. Daniel Ricciardo overtakes Pierre Gasly at the start. Yes, Gasly had a bit of a bad start. Daniel Ricciardo had a really good getaway. Ocon then pits on lap 14. He goes from the mediums to the hards. Daniel Ricciardo, again, Renault split strategy. Daniel Ricciardo on the softs. He starts on the soft. And, of course, Esteban Ocon was on the mediums. And then Ocon retired due to a clutch problem, which, of course, didn't do him any favours. It was a gearbox issue that was later confirmed by Renault as to why Ocon retired. And Renault had good pace, really good pace all weekend. Ricciardo, of course, with the retirements, with the safety car and different strategy, ultimately it helped him to get onto the podium as well, which the podium hasn't started yet, so I'm hoping he doesn't forget to do the shoey. But will he? We'll have to wait and see on that. I'll keep you updated, which when this video goes live, you would have known if he has done it or not. But this is just like a literal live reaction. So, Renault, yep, not bad day from them. Racing Point. Now, this is interesting with Racing Point. There's actually a report of there was an issue on Stroll's car, I think there was, before the race. So I don't know what that was. I literally missed it. I don't know what it was, if I'm being totally honest with you. But nevertheless, not good qualifying for Racing Point. Sergio Perez P11, Lance Stroll in P15. Both started on the medium set of tyres. And again, they were having a pretty quiet Grand Prix. Stroll had contact with Esteban Ocon at the very start. His front wing was just literally left on the, I think it was that Tamburello, I think it might have been, or just up from Tamburello. His front wing was there. They had a bit of contact. Stroll pits, gets a new set of tyres. He goes from mediums to the hards. Of course, trying to go very, very long, but ultimately would have had to pit again. And then Stroll overshoots his box under the safety car. Sergio Perez had a really, really good stint, didn't he, on the mediums. Went all the way to the hard set of tyres. Strategy played well. He went long. He was up to a P4. He was a P5. Kim Raikkonen was ahead of him at P4. He, of course, played the strategy really, really well. Looked after his tyres superbly, like he always does. Safety car then comes out. Of course, Kim Raikkonen pits. Sergio Perez goes up to P4 from P11. Wow, very, very impressive. Then he pits. Goes from the hards to the softs on lap 52 under the safety car. Why? I mean, again, I think it might have been like either Racing Point were caught out by the fact of, oh, safety car panic, let's get him in now, because they thought everyone else was going to do the same thing, which they didn't, or it was like it's a gamble, it's a roll of the dice. I think Martin Brundle said on commentary it's a roll of the dice for them, which ultimately didn't pay off. It was one of those things where if it had paid off, it would have looked good, but you had a podium in the bag, Racing Point. You didn't need to do that. If you were in P5 or 6 or even P7 and the pace was there, then yeah, gamble it. But not when you're in a position for the podium at this stage for P3, because at this point Verstappen had retired and that bumped up Perez to P3. So yeah, I didn't get that. I do not understand that as to why that is. It'll be interesting to see what they say as to why they did that. But we'll have to wait and see as well. Alfa Romeo next. Now, Alfa Romeo have had a very poor season so far, more down to the Ferrari power unit, not delivering them enough power. But this weekend they confirmed both drivers, Raikkonen and Giovinazzi, will be staying for another season, and they celebrated that with a double points finish. Raikkonen P9, Antonio Giovinazzi in P10. Solid job from them. Giovinazzi had a really good start. He started on P20 at the very back of the grid, slowest of the bunch. in the first few laps, he made up 6 places to P14. Giovinazzi always does well at the start. I don't think that gets talked about enough. So I think Giovinazzi as well deserves very good credit for that as well. And of course, go from P20 to P10 is not that bad at all. Yes, there was a few retirements, but nevertheless, he's still finishing the points ahead of 5 other drivers as well. And one of them was a Red Bull, a Ferrari, and a Racing Point. So very well done from him. Kimi Räikkönen, though, man of the moment, my driver of the day. Might have to put him up there, definitely. Lap 50, he pitted for the first time. 50 laps on their medium set of tyres, he goes to the softs. A lap before the safety car. What could have been Alfa Romeo? What could have been? They gambled on the safety car. They gambled on a virtual safety car. I think as well, when the first virtual safety car was deployed, a few cars pitted. Sorry, that's when Hamilton pitted. But I think at this point, Vettel, Perez, and Raikkonen, they didn't pit at this point, and they didn't pit at all. But I think that the reason was the people were like, why have they done that? I think it was because they were that far back, and the virtual safety car was not long. It was like 10-15 seconds. The virtual safety car just at the point where Hamilton was just entering the pits. I think they would have been like miles behind and wouldn't have had time to go from where they were to the pits, pit again, and then come out before the end of the virtual safety car. So I think that was why. So Kimi did a solid job as well, as did Giovinazzi. Lap 11, Giovinazzi went from the soft to the mediums, solid job. Kimi Räikkönen, like I said, very long stint on the softs. So from the mediums to the softs set of tyres. Solid job from Alfa Romeo, very impressive as well. And like I said, celebrate the 2 drivers resigning with a double drivers both being signed up for next season. AlphaTauri, good job from them all weekend. Pierre Gasly in P4 in qualifying, Daniel Kvyat in P8 again in qualifying. Both started on the soft set of tyres. There was reports though before the Grand Prix that Pierre Gasly had a power unit issue that they were quickly trying to fix as well. There was something that Honda picked up on the software, so they were just hoping it might have been a little glitch, something not too serious. But a few laps into the Grand Prix, lap 8 to be precise, Pierre Gasly has to retire with a radiator coolant problem. I think it might have been something was punctured. I wrote down power unit issue, but I didn't know what was it at the time. It was reported that there was a leak somewhere in the radiator, and the engine was just getting far too hot. So to save it from blowing up, they decided to retire him. Which, honestly, that could have been Gasly on the podium P3. That could have been him. Oh, what could have been? Never mind. But that now led to Daniel Kvyat, a guy who's not safe at this present time. There is talks, that was not really officially confirmed, but kind of said by Helmut Marko after qualifying that a young driver will be joining Gasly alongside him at AlphaTauri in 2021. So is that confirming that Daniel Kvyat is out of his seat? We'll have to wait and see on that, won't we? So of course he had a really good drive. He had a really good race. He had a superb move on Charles Leclerc at the safety car as well, out on the outside for P4. He was on for a podium. He was chasing down Daniel Ricciardo, Daniel Kvyat. Could have had him. Maybe if there was another couple of laps, could he have done it? Certainly could have. AlphaTauri had really good pace. They did do a filming day here back in May or June, I think it might have been, and the base is only 20 minutes down the road, so this is like their local track, so they might know it a bit better than the other teams, but nevertheless, solid job from Daniel Kvyat, very well deserved. Haas next. Again, Haas, of course, they've struggled all season long, unfortunately. Kevin Magnussen spins at lap 1, but then it was later discovered that Vettel had hit him. That was a bit unfortunate as well. Kevin Magnussen as well, he was battling with the likes of Charles Leclerc, Alex Albon, some of the McLaren boys, I think, or some of the Racing Points as well, trying to keep everyone at bay because he knew, well, he's not here next season. He knows he's out of a seat. May as well have a good race while he is here in Formula 1. Just quickly get rid of that so I can see the results. And then he was reported a few laps into the Grand Prix that it was reported that he was suffering a bit of a headache with some hard, heavy upshifting that he was doing with the car. It was just really jolting him. He said it was like someone kicking his head all the time. And then on lap 49, he retired. So not really good from Kevin Magnussen, unfortunately. He was having a pretty alright race, but we knew the pace wasn't going to be there with the Haas's this weekend, unfortunately. But hey, who would have known where they would have finished? But never mind. Both started on the medium set of tyres as well. Grosjean finished in P14 after starting in P16. K-Mag started in P17, so the pace was never going to be there. Right, finally, Williams. Oh, what a day it could have been for Williams. Latifi, he had a really good job. He stayed out very, very late. Again, he was one of those guys that should have maybe, well, in contention, that should have pitted under the virtual safety car if they were a bit closer as well, like the ones I mentioned before when I was talking about the Alfa Romeo bunch. So Latifi was up into P7 on lap 21, but then he got up to P6 again with going a very, very long stint. He eventually pits. George Russell as well. He's in the points at this stage. I think he was in the points, came out the point, then was back up into the point after Max Verstappen had his accident. Could have done it, but then under the safety car, he goes to warm up his tyres. He just puts his foot to the floor, loses the rear, hits the barrier, and he is out of the race. No words, like Russell said on team radio. He then later come out on Twitter and apologised for what he did, which it will come. Russell, it will come eventually. Him scoring the points. He was in P10 when he made the move, made the error, which ultimately allowed Alfa Romeo to score some points as well, much needed points as well. But yeah, it will come, Russell. Just not yet, but it will come. I can promise you that it will come eventually. But will it come with Williams? I really don't know. But Russell will be getting so frustrated, and that could have been. Latifi, on the other hand, he deserves a very good mention as well, because after he had a really good race, like I said, he went very long into the points. He pitted, came out of the points, unfortunately, but he had a good battle with Giovinazzi for that last lonely points position, which could have been very huge for himself and, of course, for Williams as well. Ultimately, he finished in P11. Couldn't quite make it, just about 1.2 seconds away from Giovinazzi, and, of course, whiskers away from scoring his first points in Formula 1. So there we go. That was the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at Imola, of course, or the Imola Grand Prix as people were calling it this weekend. But it was a pretty good race, I must admit. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Nice to be back at Imola. My first experience of watching a race at Imola. I wasn't really a fan in 2006, not a proper fan anyway. So I'm yet to fully experience a full race like I did today, which was incredible. So before I go, let's go through the race classifications, or the provisional race classifications, because there could have been some penalties between now and when this video goes live. So we've got Lewis Hamilton in P1, Valtteri Bottas in P2, which concludes, of course, the Constructors' standings for Mercedes. They win their 7th Constructors' Championship in a row. Incredible. No other team has ever done that. Daniel Ricciardo in P3, a solid job from the Aussie driver. Daniel Kvyat in P4, very solid job from the Russian. Charles Leclerc in P5, Sergio Perez in P6, he could have been P3, very, very shameful from him. Race the points per half anyway in P6. P7, Carlos Sainz. P8, Lando Norris. P9, Kim Raikkonen, and P10, Giovinazzi. Very good job from McLaren's and Alfa Romeo's drivers, respectively. Latifi, P11, could have been, never mind. Sebastian Vettel, P12, he could have been in the points. Looking at P9 or even P8 because of his long stint and, of course, what unfolded afterwards. But Ferrari completely screwed him over with a slow pit stop. Come on, guys, what the hell's going on? Lance Stroll in P13, Grosjean in P14, and Alexander Albon, the big of the weekend, or the of the day, in P15. And he's, of course, your last of your race classifications. George Russell, Max Verstappen, Kevin Magnussen, Esteban Ocon, and Pierre Gasly are your retirements. There's Carlos Sainz having a word with Sky F1. So, guys, this is where I'm going to end my race reaction as well. I've got a driver of the day. Let's go for Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez, Kim Raikkonen. Which one should I go for? Because both of them did really well. I'm going to go for Kimi Raikkonen. But it's close with Sergio Perez. Raikkonen, you know, did so well on them tyres. He did really, really well. And of course, pitted, came out. Could have been higher in the points if he had stayed out a lap later, but that's just in hindsight. And of course, with the car that he's got, with the age that he is, proven that age is just a number. And once that, I think Alonso said in his interview as well, once the time clock, once the lap clock or whatever it is stops, then that's when you know you need to retire. Well, once that's out of place, you know you need to retire, not your age. So Raikkonen, of course, proven that as well. But guys, thank you so much for watching as always. Let me know your opinions of the race in the comment section below. If you're new around in there, please like and subscribe as well for more content as well. Gotta miss a week, and then we are back for the Turkish Grand Prix. 4 races left. 3 locations, 4 races. Of course, we've got the double header at Bahrain. Can't believe it. They've only got 4 races left. Hamilton can wrap up his 7th. He can wrap up his 7th World Championship at Turkey matching Michael Schumacher once again. Incredible scenes. How can he do it? More than likely he will do. Watch what he's doing, guys. Stay safe as always. And until next time, I'll see you later.